So as Tom said, I'm the general manager for LTN's Managed Solutions and Production Division. What we specialize in is not only the production, but becoming an extension of our customer and the broadcaster's operations. So what that means today that I want to talk about as it relates to sports streaming at scale is taking in a produced feed, various formats, multiple locations from all over the world, bringing those into a location to where we can decorate or reversion that content, whether that be taking an announcer, setting in a Mexico City location, a Miami location, wherever that may be, overlaying those audio tracks. It could be graphical overlays, could be slating, SCUDdy insertion, a lot of different versions that we can create so that we can distribute that to the VIX platform that was launched by Televisa Univision. And with that VIX platform, I want to let you introduce that workflow, Olek, as to what is the VIX platform as it relates to live events and live content.
So VIX is a global streaming platform, number one, focused on the Hispanic audience. So it's a Spanish language native content streaming platform. It's a general entertainment platform, so we have news, entertainment, and sports. It's a live streaming platform, so we have live on the platform, we have live news and live sports. It's a single platform with two different type of experiences. There's a free ad-supported experience, and then there's a premium subscription-based experience. You get sports in both of these. With sports, those who know sports know that you acquire sports for different markets, so those experiences are circumscribed to wherever we have these rights. Mostly football or soccer, like we say in the US. And we have north of 4,000 live soccer games on VIX. So that gives you a little bit of the scale of the content that we have there.
North of 4,000 events. So I'm assuming it's not shadowing your linear programming. This is unique programming. Is that correct?
It's correct. I mean, the idea of VIX was not to make a platform that would be a mirror of our linear programming. I mean, we have, just for context, Televisa Univision is the largest broadcaster in Mexico, and it's the largest Spanish language broadcaster in the US. We have rights with VIX in Central America, Mexico, and the US in terms of sports rights. And it's a complete complement to the TV experience. So we have content, I'll give you an example. In 2024, we have content that goes on linear, which is Copa America, which for those of you who know, it's CONMEBOL and CONCACAF playing kind of the mirror of the Euro in our region. And at the same time, we have the Euro, which streams exclusively on VIX. So completely two different experiences, and that's how we conceived VIX.
I think that alone puts you all, Televisa Univision, in a unique category amongst streaming at scale because of the volume and being able to take these to not just one consumer or one group of consumers, but worldwide or globally. And it introduces new subscribers or new individuals to Televisa Univision. Why do you feel that now was the right time? We're, 2 years into this now? Why was 2 years ago? What were you thinking 2 years ago, and why did Televisa Univision make the decision that now is the right time to introduce this to the world?
So it's interesting. We were just now talking right before this where 2 years ago, this was something that was fairly unique. I mean, having 4,000 exclusive soccer games or 5,000 exclusive soccer games on a platform was a little bit of a bet. And also on top of that, we were introducing a service which was a single service that had two experiences within the same app. Today, it's easy to be said, looking back, being Monday morning quarterback, it's easy to say that was the right choice. That's what we were thinking from the get-go. We were not first movers in streaming, but we were first movers in providing that experience. We were first movers in putting so many premium sports on a streaming platform. Audience behavior is changing. And I think that's what prompted us to do it, right? On one hand, we have a linear business that still is the golden egg laying goose business. It's still very profitable, large EBITDA margins, but declining. I mean, audiences are declining. Whomever says they're not, it's blind. The audience is declining double digits year over year. And then you have this new audience, which is not necessarily younger, but it's also completely tech savvy. For them, TV is just glass, right? It's irrelevant where you're taking your content from, which is consuming more and more video. I think there's an interesting stat. I think a few months back was the first time where the amount of video streamed in the US surpassed the amount of video consumed on linear. This was I think 2 months ago. And it just shows the behavior of the audience these days that wants to consume more and more content on the cliche, wherever, whenever, right? But I think that cliche is becoming more of a reality. I mean, for my son, he doesn't really care where he's watching something. He just wants to click it and watch it.
That's amazing. I've seen a transition or growth in being able to support streaming at scale from the live event perspective, and the ingest of the produced feeds into that decoration environment or the versioning environment that I mentioned before.
Yep.
That's one of the areas that I think LTN played nicely with, or fit nicely with Televisa Univision, and the VIX platform was by taking our network and using that as somewhat of a normalization tool, because these feeds are coming from all over the world, various protocols, various formats, various frame rates, and being able to bring that in and use that as a normalization to bring into a decoration environment was key. And I think that unlocked a lot of possibilities as we rolled into maybe the second year and second seasons of some of these. I saw it become a little easier for us to do at scale. So overall, how would you assess the live sports streaming business or the live sports streaming industry today as opposed to maybe 2 years ago?
So I think the interesting part is that people are not. I think the word streaming in sports is becoming a little bit of the normality, right? I mean, I think these days when you talk about sports, most of them go to paid platforms. Like if you're talking, there's really three kinds of sports properties. The ultra premium properties, regardless of what type of sport is, where there is still some space for free ad supported because of the scale that it brings, and because those rights holders usually are forced to have minimum broadcast obligations. We're talking Olympics, we're talking World Cup, we're talking some of these things where as much as some of us would want to put it all behind a paywall because it would be a big driver to subscriptions, it makes no sense because there are monthly events, they don't, like the churn would be extremely high, so you have those, right? Those are still, in theory, broadly available everywhere. But then you have all the second tier of premium sports that go through the entire year, which is premium soccer leagues, Formula One, premium sports, NFL in the US, where most of these, the lion's share, if not all of it, lives on a somewhat of a subscriber paid behind a paywall, right? And the difference between TV everywhere and all these things, all these lines are getting blurred. So for people even watching it on TV, they don't realize a lot of this content is just streamed. Mm-hmm. TV just being a piece of glass on your wall. So I think streaming is becoming part of the norm. I mean, it's I would venture to say most of the content today in some sort of form in terms of sports is streamed.
Yeah. I read a similar article about the streaming overtaking the linear consumption a few weeks ago as well. Are you seeing any type of change in the way that content is produced because of the digital consumption? Is that something that you're seeing a transition that it's more tailored or suited for streaming applications versus linear?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things here that we can unpack. First, if you had walked the halls of IBC or an NAB 7 years ago, everything was about 4K, 8K, 3D television and all that. That is completely moot on streaming. I mean, we were just watching the Formula One race. I can't even see the numbers.
Right.
Because that's the quality of the stream that I'm getting here. And I really don't care, and the audience won't care. The audience on the sports side will still gravitate to the best screen available. And it needs to be the best resolution available, and that will depend on one, what resolution is being served, and two, the bandwidth that you have at the time of consumption. So I think this whole notion of having 4K or 8K when you're consuming content on a piece of glass this size really is not that relevant. I think latency becomes more relevant. I think personalization of content becomes more relevant. I think the way ads are served becomes more relevant to the broadcaster, maybe not to the audience, but the way you're able to serve ad innovation and ad service becomes more relevant than anything else. The quality at origination has evolved, and again, premium properties will have 4K cameras, 8K enabled, large format and whatnot. But at the time of production and at the time of distribution, I think that's starting to be a little bit less valuable.
You mentioned also about the versioning. With the versioning, I think as more digital content is being streamed, the value of that versioning becomes even more important and more critical for the growth of the streaming platform. What would you say, for example, the advertising and some of the other components that are going on that with the data acquisition? What would you say are some of the key opportunities and challenges that rights holders like yourself are going to face throughout 2023 and into 2024?
So I think the main challenge still remains the same, which is, does ever the subscriber acquisition support the business model of having paid streaming? I mean, I think, right? I mean, everybody's chasing subscribers. In the world of sports, subscribers are very, very flimsy. I mean, they'll go with whomever has the sport, not necessarily the platform, right? So that is a big challenge. Rights costs keep increasing, so you need to still have this. With you guys, I think we've reached the point where we can do distribution of sports and these many events at a scale that also helps us control costs, right? Because in the end, this is still a business. And so the biggest challenge is still customer acquisition, right? Now, the biggest opportunity there is, I think it's ironically in the opposite, which is in the ad-supported business. If you manage to bring a user for a certain amount of hours every month, it reaches the point where the amount of ads served to that user will surpass the amount of money that person will pay in subscription. So I think there's a fine balance that if we are able to start treating streaming platforms more like broadcast television, and where we try to reach as many people as we can with innovative ad units, with innovative ads that might even go as overlays over the game itself, then you might unlock the value of having millions of people watching free ad-supported sports. And I think that is probably where near future we'll be doing things.
Where a lot of the content that's coming in, a lot of these events that are coming into you are sent, and you're a taker of that, as well as other locations. Have you seen an increase in communication from those individuals because of the success of the ViX platform? Have they reached out to Televisa Univision?
Especially when it doesn't work, yeah. but yeah, I mean, I think there is a level of closeness between users and platform that it's much bigger than on television, right? Television, you're so far removed. You're usually getting your television through a third party, a cable operator, a box operator. That seems, there is no help button. There is nowhere you click on television and click support. Here, it's direct, right? You're on a platform, you click support, and that support might be, when are you guys having the Argentinian, anything from when are you guys having the Argentinian league, or I would like to have X and Y narrate this game instead of Y and Z. So for good and for bad, you eliminate that barrier between the end user and the platform itself when it comes to communication with your audience.
Perfect. Well, Olek, we appreciated at LTN as being a part of this as an operational partner for you.
It's been great.
And it's we've learned a lot over the past few years,
Yeah.
and I'm excited about what it's going to become. You
Yeah, me
truly
too.
have a one-of-a-kind platform, and it's changed the way that content's consumed around the world.
Yeah, me too. We've been very happy. In these kind of situations, in these kind of businesses, it truly needs to be a partnership when you're creating something new. So, and for that, we thank you guys so much.
Thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Yep.